Nerd on the Podcast is proudly partnered with Apogee Electronics and Odyssey Headphones, leaders in the field of audio.
And I think when we watched it together, that was your first time watching it. And
that was my
else's.
first time, yes.
It was Josh's 2 millionth time. He got a little...
Yeah.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Nerd on the Podcast. You didn't need, but you deserve, and where all levels of nerd are welcome, even if you are a returning guest.
Nice. Very nice.
What a plug. That timing.
Everybody on
for those listening to the
I was just
audio
home polishing the old Emmy, drinking some coffee out of my favorite mug.
That's it.
There it is.
That's
It's fantastic.
We have a Nerd on mug and an Emmy. I love it. Yeah, we have a very special episode today.
This is where I hang the...
I like seeing those things next to each
when
other.
the cup's dry. When the
I was
cup's
gonna say,
dry.
yeah, that's a good like pencil holder right there.
It's a paperweight, right? Paperweight? No.
Exactly.
My coffee.
But yes, very special episode today. We have our friend Jeff Nimoy back, doing something a little bit different than we normally do. Jeff has some really cool, exciting projects that are coming out into the world for everybody to enjoy. But before we get into all of that, let's introduce the hosts. I'm Josh.
I'm Caitlin.
I'm Tom. I
I'm
go after
Corey.
all you guys.
Yeah. We'll get there someday in this
One
quarantine.
day.
We'll get there.
It's
After it's
Caitlin,
over.
Ollie, Tom, Corey, Josh.
Anyway, this episode is brought to you in part by the members of the Nerd On Nation that is powered by Patreon. As a member of the Nerd On Nation, you do get fun perks like early access to our episodes. You get bonus content that nobody else hears but you. You get private channels on our Discord server, which it's just for you. It's good stuff. A lot of great stuff going on over there at the Nerd On Nation. So check that out. nerdon.io/Patreon. And do check out our Discord, nerdon.io/Discord. Lots of fun people in there. Every week we get new members in there, and the conversation just keeps growing and growing. And also our partners, Apogee. Apogee has provided us, the host, with hype mics, allowing us to still make our episodes in quarantine. It's good stuff.
Yes.
And Odyssey headphones. What did you say, Corey? It smells like butter. It tastes like butter.
It sounds
smells
like
Sounds like butter.
It smells like
I hope
butter.
my headphones don't smell like butter.
Feels like
It
butter.
is a sensory that is nice and
We're gonna
If
do
my
pleasant for
headphones
you.
start smelling like butter, there's something wrong with my head.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Just give it a
happen, but
lick
they
now
smell
and
like
tell me
butter.
what it tastes
Yeah,
like.
exactly.
You got him right there.
It's a
But,
press and lick.
our audience, you are no strangers to our guest, Jeff
This
Nimoy.
mug tastes like butter. It's amazing.
Can't believe
It smells like butter.
that's
Tastes
a
like
commer-
coffee.
That's our merchandise commercial.
But yes, our audience, you are no stranger to our guest, Jeff Nimoy. Welcome back to Nerd On.
Thanks. It's great to be back here. This is my third time, I believe.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
The first time was because Josh, his wife, and I go way back. We're old friends. I did it on request. The second time, we just came off watching Famish, the movie
yeah.
I'm talking about, after the screening, and we were all just feeling good about Josh and myself, especially about we were proud of the work we had done, and we wanted to show, our work to the world. And this time, it's just a shameless plug because we're trying to sell
Exactly.
videos. So commerce
really
wins out
good.
at the end. Yeah.
Yeah.
Third
Yeah.
time's the charmer.
Money
Not
brings people
sponsored.
together.
Yeah.
It's not the root of all evil.
Not at all.
But now we could say we all go back.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Now we can
all
say
go
that.
Now we
back.
all go way back.
Yeah.
So how's everything been, Jeff? How's your quarantine been?
It's been an adjustment like everyone else, but as I've talked about on this show before, I'm a brain tumor survivor. This is nothing. I could sit around doing nothing for years. It's not a big deal to me. So, the country's been through much worse, believe it or not, and the world has been through much worse. And, you should have seen it in the Middle Ages. You think this is bad?
Right.
So every generation has to do their thing, has to make their sacrifice, has to bear their load. And this is ours. So I'm very grateful for every day. Look, I survived a brain tumor and I made a movie that is coming out on Tuesday. It's already out by the time we're talking about this. But it's just shocking. It's just shocking to me. I have nothing to complain about. So, all right, I have to wear a mask. Big deal.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Not too shabby.
Yeah.
So I
it's
try not
pretty
to complain.
worse.
And I could still do a lot of my adapting into English that I've done on different projects over the years. And I could still do that from home. So I'm very lucky there. And I can act right here over, my microphone, my earphones. This is my acting setup. This is exactly where I just recently did Tentomon for Digimon Last Evolution.
Nice.
This is right here. So
Wow.
Those sound
Fainted.
waves echoed off the walls behind him. How does that make you feel?
I had to put a flannel sheet over my head to record,
Right.
to keep all
Corey's
the
no
balance.
stranger.
Otherwise,
Not a
they wouldn't
stranger to
need
that
echo.
feeling.
They wouldn't need echo when I go Tentomon Digivolve 2. They won't
bark
need
in the
any
background.
echo if I.
I find that to be amazing that everybody, especially with like animation and voiceover, like with home setups now, you can do broadcast stuff from home. Like it's pretty amazing.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I'm sure
Very
one day they'll
convenient.
just have cast recordings again, 6 feet apart.
Yeah.
Which most casts are 6 feet apart anyway.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, the kitchen's not so
If in the
much
same
that way
room.
on break. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think things will return eventually. Of course they will.
Yeah,
You
just
know?
got to give it its time.
Just gotta
Commit
give it its
now.
time.
We'll get back to it all sooner.
Yeah.
That's it. Exactly.
That's it.
So
Yeah.
So obviously you're kind of thriving, and I've said it before too. It's like I was kind of thriving in it because I was like, I got to do a lot of stuff from home now. I got to work, but now it's interesting because now we're kind of like, I think not in the second leg of it all, but it's now people are like, wow, we've been at home or quarantined,
Yeah.
but some people have who have kids and who still have to like do a lot of like weird, like the IT people have to do a lot of interesting bending over backwards for the corporations and businesses that they have to help that are essential. What have been some of your I guess things that you've been able to do creatively that you haven't normally been able to do during a quarantine or throughout regular life?
Well, I have not been able to direct anything. That's just gone. That's not happening
Wow.
for quite a while.
Productions.
Right. So that's just not happening at all. I have a couple of ideas for screenplays that I wanted to write, but of course, like most of us, I was too lazy and I just didn't do it. I could have written a whole screenplay by now, but I just didn't. But I've adapted a lot of shows on Netflix that you've never seen, probably, but they're quite good shows. They're episodics. They're like hour long, and there's like a show from Turkey, a show from Italy, a show from Spain, and I adapt those scripts into English. So that work has increased
Okay.
as everything else has sort of faded away. So I have nothing to complain about. I'm working, and I'm working almost every day from home.
Wow.
So
I'm
I just can't
curious.
go out. Yeah.
I'm curious if you think do you think like more animation and CG projects are going to come, like, I guess not necessarily your way, but just like in general, because we can't get into a studio, together.
Oh,
to
yeah,
sort of,
yeah.
you know what I mean?
In fact, theaters are already starting to boycott studios that show
We
their
talked about,
thing, first time on video on demand
Yeah.
or streaming, whatever, because they've got commitments, and that's where they want the bulk of the money, the first time money. So I think that the future, as we've all known it anyway, it's just a rush to the future. That home entertainment is here. I remember saying to someone, maybe whenever, 15 years ago, I said, one day it's going to be like, you can get so specific. You could say, I want to watch episode 8 of season 3 of Roseanne. And they were like, I don't think anybody will ever be interested in that, And now the whole world is that,
Yeah.
So technology is always, just follow the technology and you'll see where we're going. all the
Yeah, it's
time.
wherever the access is going to go. Yeah. Before, like
Yeah.
the theaters
Path
were
of
really
least
big.
resistance.
Yeah, because like everyone had to go to one spot to get something brand new. Now,
Right.
everyone could choose everything else, and that's also changed how ratings go because not everyone's watching the same thing. Everyone could find their own demographic, so that's why there's just such a huge saturation now.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I mean, right now there's almost no difference between your phone and your TV. It's almost so blended together, and soon it will be, and now, you add in a Siri or a Alexis, and now you've got,
Now you can say, something like,
No, then
hey,
you've got
so-and-so,
Arnold
play
Schwarzenegger
this and that.
showing up at the Griffith Park Observatory.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So let's the topic at hand. So Famish.
Yes.
Yeah.
By the time that this comes out, the release date for everybody was May 12th. And it's available everywhere, right?
Pretty much, I'm not the distributor. We were lucky enough to get a distribution deal, digital, for this movie, which is kind of amazing in of itself. Just a small movie like this to get some kind of distribution deal is crazy. So it shows why we're all so proud of it, So I have not, they decide all that where it should be. I thought it was also going to be on say DirecTV on demand. It's not. It's going to be on iTunes, Amazon Prime. It's going to be on Microsoft, and it's going to be on Google Play.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
So you
Yeah,
can
the
get
big
on
ones,
any of
though.
those.
Yeah.
And I like a lot of people though that are still hardwired cable. They don't have I have Apple TV, so I have an app for iTunes. I have an app for Amazon. I could watch it on my giant screen TV. I don't know if everyone's going to have that these days. I'm not sure everyone's like that, but all right. They can still, if they're smart enough, they can project it onto their TV.
Yeah. There you
using
go.
Yeah,
Apple
exactly.
Play or whatever.
Is there any physical version?
There
Like
is a DVD that's DVD. Yeah. I also thought it was going to be on Blu-ray. Hey, little things you learn about the independent filmmaking once it's out of your hands. It's what? So there's no Blu-ray? There's no Blu-ray. And I thought there was going to be. And I spent a lot of time having the things made for it too. The cards. And they said, no, there's just no demand anymore. Streaming is everything. Very few people want a hard copy unless you go to a con and you want to buy one, convention. So it's only DVD right now, manufacturing on demand.
Okay.
Don't worry, Jeff. We'll get some blank Blu-rays and we'll make it happen.
I can make them happen. I have a master.
I was gonna say
The nerd on bootleg.
Which is the higher quality version somehow.
I ended up asking a little bit of the lawyer question because I bought the DVD.
Yeah.
And so during the pre-order, and I was like, wait, am I not getting a DVD? Because to me, there's something really special about having a physical copy, and the first film that I worked on, I got the DVD and it was an independent film. So I was like, this is important to me. It's like a piece that I get, it's tangible.
Right.
And I just want to also just take this opportunity. Tom, you wrote a beautiful thing about my movie and about me personally on Facebook. And I shared it all over the social networking of the famous,
Oh, I didn't even see that yet.
interworld, the famous world,
Thank you.
the famous net, the internet.
The internet. No, I mean, and
We got some there.
I 100% stand by it. Everyone at home who's not friends with me on Facebook or on social media, I watched the film and I was coming out of a really dark time. I had just worked on something and it turned out great, but I had started questioning who I was as a filmmaker and a storyteller, and then knowing of Jeff's work, but not really knowing who Jeff was. We had just done one episode with him, and it was a hookup through Josh and Bonnie. So I was like, oh, this is cool. This is a cool, fun moment. But now I'm like, oh, maybe I potentially could build a relationship and see what the life is like. And then seeing the film and knowing the story and how it's made, and then experiencing it all. And Caitlin was there, and that was a wonderful night. It just bounced me back, and I was just like, this is why you make films. This is why you tell stories, and it's to have these experiences and moments and share and tell about story. And I'll say this, there's a lot of independent films that I've made and a lot of independent films that I've watched, and none have ever reached the level of heart that I've seen in a film that I'm like, wow. And that's the thing where it's I don't know why I was so surprised, but I was just blown back. I was like, I can't believe this. Why is no one watched it? Why is this not huge, exploding? I was over enamored with this film. So
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it.
It's one of my favorite projects
that's
that
true.
I've ever worked on. So, and
Yeah.
I did the trailer. Bonnie and I did the trailer, and that was
which
surreal.
is also freaky. It's surreal seeing it on iTunes, right?
Yeah,
It's surreal.
I was watching it last night, and I was like, "This is weird. This is weird."
It's so weird. The first time I took my Apple TV remote, and you just press the microphone button, and you go,
Oh, yeah.
Jeff Nimoy. And like a giant
Boom.
face comes up of Jeff Nimoy. You know, he's like, you know,
It's just
That's
the
awesome.
spirit.
There it
Hell
is.
with
yeah.
a cigarette dangling out of his mouth, well, you know, with the cigarette dangling out of his mouth. And
That's got to be a cool feeling, man.
it's a cool feeling. And then the trailer automatically starts playing. And I'm like, oh my God, this is insane.
Yeah.
It was so surreal. It was trippy. I thought I was tripping on something.
Although I'll have to say, I do feel bad that folks don't get the same viewing experience we did, where we got the director in house to watch it with us.
That's fair. That's,
Closed doors.
Yeah.
Closed
Gotta
door
get that
experience.
commentary going, Jeff. You gotta get that audio, the
The
director
secret,
commentary
like,
next.
trivia bits.
yeah.
Well, Tom, I did a DVD commentary track, which I did it. I hope it worked because I did it just like we're doing this kind of. You know, I pressed
Yeah.
play and clap and did it. But
Really?
but I hope they included it.
So-
I don't know.
Get the DVD is what you're saying.
I'll be the first one to know.
That is
Yeah.
so
Pre-order,
cool.
baby.
That is
That's
awesome.
exciting.
So I mean, that's
Yeah.
That
that's
was such a
want-
cool experience, man.
Yeah.
Getting to watch that with you. That was awesome.
Thanks, man.
The-
It was a lot
I-
of fun for me too.
I feel like this movie, and I know I went into this the last time we talked, but it's just the most accurate representation of conventions
Yes.
that
Yeah.
I've seen
And you would
portrayed in a
know.
movie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I've worked at well over 80 of them over the last 10 years, and just like the chaos that happens, the like real world, real people problems, but also
Right.
these fantastical situations. Like
And
I feel
everything
like you
moving
really
at 100 miles an hour.
100
And
miles
it's
an hour.
only
but-
72 hours. When
Yeah.
I'm like, how did that happen so fast?
I know. It's like a year's worth of emotional journey happens in like 2 or 3 days. And you're like, how has this happened? But you captured it so beautifully.
Thanks so
and
much.
and there's so much like real human emotion and trials happening in that kind of, tiny amount of time.
Yeah.
It's
Thanks.
just it's so beautiful.
Thank you so much. I've had a lot of time to reflect, obviously, now since even our last podcast about it, while trying to get this distribution deal and going through the whole film festival circuit. Almost not quite a year's passed, but some time has passed, and just thinking back now on the actual message of the film, what's the film about, and it's about a lot of different things. It's just you can't put one pin in it and say it's this,
Yeah.
No,
I thought it was one guy's journey. It's not. It's also about inclusion of people that get made fun of everywhere else, but here we're all safe, and we're
in the
allowed.
community.
Yeah, that's what I mean. We're allowed to be ourselves somewhere. I might not be where you want to be, but where I want to be, I can be myself, and this is where I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And either get on board or get off, and get out of my way. I'm having fun. That kind
Love
of thing
that.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
And yeah, that's the thing where I was like, I didn't want to say too much and like spoil the film, but I was like, whether you're like really well versed in like nerd culture and pop media, and pop culture and everything like that, like you can come in at any like moment, at any walk of life, you can
Well,
watch this
I was-
film and love it.
I was
Because
gonna.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Because
No,
at
no,
its
no.
base, it's a romantic comedy.
Yeah.
So it could
For
be
sure.
an office comedy. It could be, anything. But this one happens to
Exactly.
take
Yeah.
place at an anime convention.
Yeah. Well, even to supplement Caitlin's, comments, it's as someone who hasn't been going to conventions their whole life, just the last year or so, even at that entry level, you still get that same kind of feeling, exactly what's going on. And I'm very excited to be able to show my wife this film now that it's out.
thanks,
'cause I
man.
think, she's been to a few conventions with me as well. And I'm really excited to share it.
And I think when we watched it together, that was your first time watching it. And
That was
everyone
my first
else's.
time. Yes.
It was Josh's
same.
2 millionth time. He got he got like a Burger King hat for it.
You pull the string, all the confetti comes down with the 2 million view.
Little Emmy unicorn.
That's
Wow.
awesome. So yeah,
I wanted to ask about
Yeah.
the festival circuit because you hadn't been doing that yet when we last talked. How was that experience for you?
You learn a lot again when you're doing this for the first time. I think the festivals are just another commercial thing, like any studio or any signing an agent or signing a this, or it's just a prestigious thing. And the festivals that can actually do something for a movie rather than just pat yourself on the back and put some
You have a nice
laureate-
little laurel.
Laurel
Yeah,
on your
right.
poster.
Yeah.
The ones that can actually do something they're as commercial as any studio, like Scorsese, premieres at these
The
festivals.
South by
you know.
Southwest, the Cannes, the Venice.
Right. So it's like these are already big produced movies, millions and millions of dollar movies.
Right,
It's
right.
not about the independent filmmaking.
It's about press.
at all. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
So I realized that, but again, I didn't have a distributor or a studio to answer to. I can put it in my pocket because I owned it, you
Yeah.
know. And then I decided once I was sort of like, you know, these are the festivals I want to get into. If I don't get into them, I'm moving on. I'm not doing anything just to do it.
Right.
And then I went right for getting a distributor, and these guys really love me. They're called Random Media, and they used to work at Paramount Home Entertainment.
Nice.
They used to run Paramount Home Entertainment.
Awesome.
Wow.
So I'm
Legit.
really excited.
They know
you
some things.
I think so. Yeah.
A couple
So,
things. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's like the whole like old guard of like, you know, that's where you would go get your VHSs, you know, like
Right.
that's, yeah.
Right.
So they're definitely gonna know something. No, yeah, I've definitely had a similar experience with film festivals because for me,
Yeah.
I was more of like, let me get the laurel so it looks all flourished, and then when I go
Right.
talk to other people about it, I'm like, hey, I got 6 awards. You know, it's like
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it doesn't put any more money in my pocket.
Exactly. And let me tell you, I got a lot of push from actors almost every week. Hey, well, how about we go to this film festival? Hey, submit here. Hey, what about this
Hey,
convention?
this is a $100 one. This is a $200 one. It's not that bad.
Oh
This is a
my
late
God.
fee, whatever, blah
which,
blah.
Yeah.
Which you know I paid
Woof.
for, but also like I held back on going to conventions. We were going to do a whole convention tour,
Right.
and I held back because some of these festivals demanded a premiere, and you
Oh,
can't
yeah.
have it anywhere else. So I held back on that, and now, of course, all those touring plans are done, over. Not for a while anyway. So
Yeah.
we were going to go to Dragon Con this year. That's kind of
Oh,
done.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not going anyway, even if they do open it up. I'll
Right,
tell you
right,
that.
right.
So, but who knows? Maybe this will actually be better for the film's chances ultimately. You don't know, you know,
Well,
maybe.
I mean, I think that's been the big discussion lately, where it's like, you know, kind of like with film festivals, like, you know, you have like Todd Phillips who premieres, you know, Joker somewhere where it's like a, you know, it's already a studio film. So like,
Yeah.
you know, independent filmmakers like yourself and mine, you know, like what are we really gaining from it other than like possibly bumping an elbow with a distributor that's like higher end than someone we could just pick out of the group. But like, it's the same thing with theaters, right? So it's like, why would anyone go to the theater to watch like a $50 million movie when a big studio drops a $200 million tentpole film that's going to like just blow it out of the water for no reason? So a lot of people have been finding that success is just in the VOD because that's where you can get, you know, Always Be My Maybe, which had 15 million viewers within the first weekend. And that's just the same as like, what if they just went to the theaters? Because now people just go home and do it. So
I'd be thrilled with 15 viewers this week.
I think you're definitely
Yeah.
gonna have that within the first week. So
Well,
I think you're good.
I'm hoping, you know, that the anime community really comes through for me and spreads it like a virus. No, that spreads it like coronavirus through a convention.
Oh my
Comic-Con.
gosh.
It's my kind of humor. I love it.
No, really.
I'll go dark.
I hope they get behind it. And since they can't go to conventions themselves, this might be a good thing for them, you know?
Yeah, like a pseudo
It does-
experience, like a little viewing hole of
Exactly.
what they could be going to. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
definitely has that feeling of like being at a convention, even though you're not at a convention. Like it feels very cozy like that. So.
yeah, no, and I think, you know, obviously again you've kept the seat warm around the anime people, not only in Digimon, but like I think when we talked last time, I don't know if you were just finished Ultraman.
Ultraman.
Yeah, he had just finished it.
You had just finished it, but I watched it within then and now, and so I'm like, yeah, you've stayed in the game and all that stuff. So people who, you know, recognize them like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
you like, you know, more, you know, obviously you have the Wolfwood, then you have the Tentomon, but then obviously it's
Right.
like, oh, you know, he has a career doing, you know, making films and stuff like that. So
Yeah. And I
think it's
also
gonna-
adapted this last Digimon last evolution. I adapted it, which is the first time I've adapted
Nice.
in Digimon for a long time. And I think fans will like it. I really made it, it feels like a Digimon episode, you know? It feels like it.
I mean, I want to have like a
Music
little.
just to his ears.
A little,
Tom's
little
like-
meta commentary about that. The only reason is because like Digimon, you know, obviously there's the P word, right? And that is the quote unquote, sorry, I'll put in the 50 cents into the jar, not the whole dollar, but there is the P word. Now there's 50 cents. But
rhymes with Jokamon.
Yeah. But Digimon has like, I feel like within the last 5 years has like doubled down and like say, hey, we have the staying power and we're going to continue these stories that you love. And I mean, like there's like been several seasons since Digimon, and then there's been Digimon Adventure, and there's Tamers, and then there's the Frontier, and there's so many iterations. And then they bring in Try, and it's like this series of films, and they're all in new, I would call them like new age animations, art styles, and they use the same characters in their older stories. And then, as you're saying, like Last Evolution came out, it's like there's something very much really cool going on with the Digimon, franchise and property, where now they have the new show coming out. But it's like, like how's that been for you? Where like now Digimon, like I feel like Digimon is there's always something new coming out Digimon like every month.
So Digisans.
Yeah.
Digisans. We got some press when it hit 15 years, I think. We got some press, and there was interest. Everything keeps living on TV, but those who didn't grow up with Digimon on Fox Kids grew up on it on Jetix, and all these other things. So it's crazy. I keep getting older, but the fans keep being born, over and over again.
It's a good place to be.
The funny thing is now, you've got like a 63-year-old woman playing an 8-year-old boy in some of these characters.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Yeah. It is an interesting age, like you brought up about wanting to watch a specific episode of a certain show. It's like now you're living in a streaming age where like you can go, man, I want to watch an episode of Digimon, and you're probably going to be able to find it. I mean, odds are you will be able to. And so it's like a lot of shows have new life because they have a new place. Like you don't have to try to dig in the bargain bin or something like that for that DVD or whatever. Like you can be like, hey Siri, find Digimon season 1, and my Siri's going to go off now.
Yeah, I mean it's a great time for shows that have staying power, much like Digimon, to be around on these streaming platforms, because it does allow people to kind of dip their toes in that haven't before. My most recent example is I grew up with the show Scrubs. It was one of my favorite shows growing up. And this year I finally got to get my wife into it because it became available on Hulu. And so it's a very cool experience to be able to, now you have people who like me, my age, who are parents showing their kids Digimon and be like, check, this is what I grew up on. And
right, exactly.
It's a really cool connection between the two as well. It's a bridge between the two generations.
And this film is sort of a love letter to all of them, to all of these people who grew up with it, who, I can't tell you how many people say this phrase to me at conventions: thank you for my childhood. Now, obviously that's a stretch, but I understand what they're talking about. It was something they looked forward to every day after school. It was part of their thing, before they went to school. And then Saturday would be the new one, and now they're showing their kids that, and they're showing up there with their kids to these conventions. And it's kind of crazy. I'm like, am I
you get to relive it a little bit,
Yeah.
Truly, you do. It's something that they can connect with their kid, just be just as excited as their kid about.
It's those nostalgia glasses
lovely.
that we talk about, where it's like so like sometimes we talk about how nostalgia glasses can be bad, but sometimes they're the bright side of life, where you put them on and you're like, I am so happy that I get to share this thing with you that I loved so much. And when completely new stuff comes out, it's like, wow, this is so cool.
The new stuff makes me sad and happy at the same time. It makes me sad when I'm not involved, when they don't ask me to be involved. And I'm like, what? I'm right here. Did they lose my number? What the hell? And then when they ask me to do anything, I'm so happy just to reconnect and, just to slip on that old, Tentomon, Kabuterimon sweater again. Feels good. But writing for these characters is really my fun. To write for Joe again is so much fun. He was my favorite character to write for back in the day.
This neurotic guy,
Yeah, and knowing Brian Donovan is going to be playing the voice of this character I'm writing lines for.
Yeah.
He's into it,
You can write for those people you've known him.
Right. Josh Seth and, Colleen O'Shaughnessy, all of them, And Brian Donovan, as we've spoken about, is in the movie as well, Famish.
Yeah.
And
he's great.
He's great, and he plays.
is.
I've said
Yeah,
it
yeah.
before. He's the nicest guy in the world, and he plays a complete jerk. You know,
in such a good way. I mean,
Oh,
like
he actually brings you to tears at one point. Actually,
I would
well,
say
not me, but others.
if I can make a direct comparison, he kind of reminds me of Benny from The Mummy.
Yeah.
It's just like
Oh,
it's just like that guy that
no.
you love to hate, but then like, oh, I feel so
Just has
bad
a
for
punchable
Feel bad
face.
for him, right?
Wrong side of the river.
yeah. But no, talking a little bit more about Digimon and how it's changed and grown. Like I'm someone that grew up with it, but like now, 2 decades later, I'm sorry, Jeff. Sorry,
Where's
but
my
like
cane?
I know, right? Me too. That's how I'm starting to feel like, where it's like there's people who are younger than me who have like these thriving YouTube accounts who talk about the franchise and where it's gone, and they talk about the seasons, where it come from, like what does the story elements mean, and all these kids who are younger than all of us who
Right.
are talking about this are watching the American localized dub.
Yeah.
And it comes to me, I always think about, it's like, you like the voice acting, and you could like the animation, you like the character and story and all that stuff, but it's like, if this is where the writing comes involved, because like that's where you got the characterizations. And like now we're seeing new iterations, and we saw Try, and now we're seeing Last Evolution, and then a new show's coming out where it's like, where you come involved, where adapting or being part of it, it's like you've changed too.
Right.
You've grown with it. And so there is that relationship that, to me, I've always loved about something like Digimon, because unlike the other things, every season ends and it feels like there's a brand new thing. And so like the show feels like it's growing up with you.
Yeah.
Where other things where it's like characters stay at age 13 forever. So
Right.
For like 20 whole years and have very little development.
Right. This particular movie is perfect for that, because they're all older, and it's not a fast, frenetic pace like it was in 1999, or when it first aired. It's a much calmer pace. The audience is thinking along a little more these days, than they were then. We're not force feeding a million bits of information every 2 seconds. We let things take their time a little bit. But the humor is that the Digimon are still the same age. They never age.
Yeah.
So it's not like Tentomon goes around going, "Oh, my aching back." He's fine.
I'm getting
Whereas
too old
Izzy-
for this.
There's a
Izzy might
parody
be
there
like-
somewhere. There's a parody there. There's something there.
The Digimon in the old age home.
Yeah.
The Digimon
Oh
home.
my gosh.
Lethal Digivice.
Oh,
So the humor's still there, and it's just enough to break up the tension, but not too much to get people to complain about how horrible Jeff Nimoy is to the Digimon franchise. It's funny, you go online on one of these, like, the trailer
Forums.
for Try, or the forum, and it's like, oh no, Jeff Nimoy's adapting. I hope he doesn't ruin it like he ruined season 2. And then the next person's like, that's not fair, Jeff Nimoy. They'll all argue about me. Millions of people who've never met me have
The
these
internet.
opinions about me.
Yeah. The internet is as the internet does.
Yeah.
Could be used for the most powerful things in the world, and yet here we are arguing about the season 2.
It's I mean, that's the thing, right? Where like, I think the show, we've made it a thing where we talk about fictional characters, but at the end of the day, they are fictional characters. There are things on the internet to argue about that are a little bit more important, but they stay with us and they're important. So it's interesting, but it's like, it's the difference, I think, between having an obsession and then being possessive, right? So
Right.
it's a very interesting thing that I see with anime specifically, just when it comes to when it grows and it changes and new writers get involved, and then how does that translate into America? Because to me, like, that was the one thing that I felt was the most charming about Digimon, was that like, oh, this is unapologetically like a localization, because like they're using the references that we understand, like. In there are other dubs where we always talk about where it's like they use like a rice ball as like, this
Rice
is a
ball.
donut, where it's like,
Yeah.
that's not a donut. Like, so we can tell these things. But like when they talk about like, using like in time references to like music and stuff, or films, it's like, oh, okay, cool. Like Star Wars. I'm like, oh, those are things that we can get. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
what was one of your favorite things for adapting this new
Yeah.
bit to localize? Or did you have that kind of a moment in this?
Yeah, I did, but they sort of come to me naturally at this point because it's such a second nature thing. I just immediately generalize things. If they say he's on Karatoa Street, I'll say he's around the corner on K Street. You know what I mean? I'll say something like that. I'll really keep it clean and simple. If it's something not important like that, you know, like
Right.
just why mention a neighborhood when they say he's over at the next neighborhood, when that's the point of the story, that he's
Right.
over at the next neighborhood. It doesn't matter what's the name of that neighborhood. So I'll keep things very general in the script and just keep to the story.
The heart of the
Yeah.
story is
Right.
what's important. Yeah.
Yeah, and like I can even attest to that only because I have the memory of it. Like Heightened View Terrace was important because that was the epicenter of where they all experienced something important. So it's like there is reason to keep
Exactly.
things in there. But if it's not, then it's like it's just the next region.
Exactly.
So
I
to,
am living proof.
so to clarify, there's a new movie and a new series. Can you go into that? Like what's
There is a new series, but I found out just like you guys did through fans, and that's how most of the American crew finds out about these things.
Yeah.
Hey, are
After
you
the
a part of
fact.
the? Yeah, are you a part of the new Japanese version? Are they dubbing into English? I don't know. So I have no information about the new series, but my answer is always going to be the same to Digimon. If asked, I will serve. If asked to be a part of it in any way they want me to be a part of it, I'll be happy to do it because, first of all, I just feel better when I'm doing Digimon. I'm too critical of it otherwise. I'm watching Try, and I'm like, I didn't direct it. And I'm like, I would have directed that differently. I would have wrote that differently. I didn't write Try. And I get very frustrated. It's like someone, directing your film, or it's my baby, Even though I'm not the only director, even I wasn't even the first director, but still, it's just, I feel so possessive of it.
Yeah, I mean,
And,
after spending so much of your life involved,
So this one, when they asked me to write it, I thought maybe there was a hope they might ask me to direct. Hey, maybe old times are back. And then they just booked me for the acting session, and I knew I wasn't directing.
and that's interesting. And obviously, like a few Japanese episodes have aired, but obviously we'll see how the American localization goes. But like there is a difference, and you could definitely tell that like there is a character as well as like how the tonality of the world goes between different directions. So I mean, to me, I already said this, like watching Digimon like as a child has super impacted like how I think about music and like using different songs specifically with lyrics and not just having scores. Like that was to me like kind of a staple of what Digimon was. And then seeing Try and having other ones like, oh, it's just different. It just feels different.
Right.
It doesn't feel as streamlined, even though you might use the same characters, which they are. So it's a very interesting viewing experience being the American audience.
what is
Right,
the
right.
out of curiosity, what's the time frame usually? Like if something airs in Japan locally, like what's the time frame before they start working on an English dub, or is it quick, or does it change show to show? Like
It does change show to show. In the old days, like Fox Kids old days, the first season of Digimon old days, they were just like, we were only about 2-3 months behind them.
okay.
And
Wow.
for Digimon Savers, the entire series was done first in Japan.
Mhm.
And then
Oh,
we
wow.
got it. So I had a much easier time putting that story together because I can see where it's ending. Digimon, I'm sort of playing catch up though. In fact, I think I said this. I wrote Gatomon as a boy because he sounded like a boy to me.
Yeah.
It was written like he was flirting with the girl, Digimon. And I wrote him, and then we found out 2 weeks later. I'm like, wait, it's a girl? So we had to go back. We had to recast. We had to rewrite. We had to do
Whoa.
all of these things. So it's much easier having
It's much of a surprise to you as it was the audience. There you
Especially
go.
when Gatomon Digivolves, you're like, okay, never mind.
Right. So these days it's more like they do them in volumes. So they did them like 4 at a time. And then we had to wait a few months, and then 4 at a time. We had to wait a few months. So that's what it is these days,
Nice.
Kaylin,
You
have
need
you
more
had
time than the few
Have
months.
you had to deal with any like simuldubs?
I don't deal with the simuldubs, but there's always simuldubs going on. In fact,
I'm just curious your opinion on them and all that kind of thing, because having an entire volume. of
oh,
Digimon
I'm sorry.
out
I
in
thought you were
advance-
talking about different languages dubbing into one
Oh
Digimon.
no. Just
I'm
just
sorry,
in
so what do you
general,
mean?
simuldubs.
You mean like me and the other actors, or you and someone else doing the characters?
No, you, and like your opinion of simuldubs, because like you were talking about like you would have more time to go over the entire volume, or
Yeah.
like you'd have to change things kind of on the fly. But with the simuldub, like you're getting the episode as it's coming out. You don't have any like forethought with it. So I don't know. I didn't know if you've like done any simuldubs or like what your opinion of those
really,
are.
maybe we're calling it different things, but I'm not really familiar with the term that you're calling it, and I'm not sure what
Oh,
technique
oh.
you're talking about. But I know when a series is done, like Digimon, that print is given to every country that's going to dub it, including Japan. They do the animation first in Japan as opposed to what we do. We animate to our voices.
Oh yeah.
So we're all working on it. I'm sure when I'm working on something, Jeff Nimoy in Germany is working on it. Only he's spitting more when he talks, I think.
It's Air Jeff Nimoy.
Und we must dub the Digimon! Und Tentomon must Digivolve!
Is he
I
also the
kind of want
voice
to
of
watch
Tentomon
that
there?
a little bit. I kind of would like pay some money to see that.
Yeah.
Everyone's so much angrier in that.
It's a very angry
So
show.
apparently.
Very angry show.
Sounds very Dragon Ball. So I mean, talking about like a little bit of like Last Evolution, a little bit in our digital green room. When that film first came to the States, I think it was going to be in English subtitles, and people were going to watch the Japanese dub.
Right.
And then, obviously America gets it, and then they have the chance to do it. But that happened during when everything all started shutting down.
Yeah.
So what was that like? Getting the project, then all of a sudden, production being where it's at. I have no idea.
Well, this is what happened. The script came first, before any of that happened, And once I written the script, then they start, bringing the actors in. And some actors are calling me, say, "Hey, I hope I'm going to see you. I'm recording Digimon." I said, "No, you're not. But, I wrote the script, so I wrote you some funny lines, or I wrote you some sad lines. Go kill it," things like that. And then Tom Fon, who plays Agumon, he was recording his part right down the street from where I live.
Nice.
And he said, "You want to grab a lunch right after?" And that day, by the time he got out of the studio, LA closed all restaurants
Oh,
for
wow.
takeout.
Whoa.
And that's why people like me who recorded last had to record from home. We weren't even allowed to record anymore.
Wow.
So
Jeez.
half the
Whoa.
cast had to do it from home, and half the cast got to do this before that happened. So
Wow.
it really
Wow.
happened smack dab in
That
the
sound
middle.
engineer is going to have so much fun matching those sounds.
She's also the director, Susie. So
Oh, wow.
That's a feat to take on half of booth recorded and
Yeah.
half a home recorded.
It
That's
is.
It's gonna be tough.
impressive.
And also curved performances. So
Yeah.
yeah.
that's crazy. Have you? I mean, obviously, again, you wrote the script and you performed in it, but I don't know. Do you know any? And I don't even know if there's something Googleable of like when that could be released or anything like that. When?
I heard July, but I'm not sure.
Okay, that's interesting.
Things are
Yeah,
changing right
it's-
now.
Yeah, things are very fluid.
Well, whatever it is, look on the Shout Factory. I'm sure they're going to be the distributor again.
There you go.
So they'll, I guess they're going to be the distributor again. Just
Shout
they
out to Shout
distributed-
Factory.
Yeah, they distributed Try. So,
Yeah.
Nice.
so I don't think they would change distributors. So check it out. I'm sure.
Nice.
they'll tell
And
you.
for everyone at home listening, and just like Last Evolution is kind of like the true ending of the original series, and then now going into this, it's interesting. It's Digimon Adventure with a semicolon. There's no like 2.0 or anything like that, but it's Digimon Adventure. They don't call it reboot or anything like that, or remake like Square Enix. But this is like a reiteration of
Shots fired.
but it's fine. I'm just saying it's just interesting they don't have something like that. Because if you looked up Digimon Adventure and then Digimon Adventure, you'd have to just type in the year to
Like
know the
the year.
difference.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
two, yeah.
Yeah. And so and then O2 for later on with Davis. But like this is like a new iteration where it's like before they were like cell phones aren't really a thing, so kids going to summer school or summer camp, it was very okay to them to be lost. And now like they're really embracing that the digital age is a thing, and
Yeah.
they're going more about like what it's like. So that's I think it's for everyone at home, just keeping everyone up to date where it's like that will end one, and this will be a brand new. But it's gonna have some things that honor and pay homage to the fans of what the old stuff was.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, I had a good time with it. It's very enjoyable. So I hope fans will like it. I'm pretty sure they will. I was confident when I turned the script in that it's a Digimon script,
Okay,
so I think people are going to enjoy it.
nice.
That's awesome.
Tom
Yeah,
is
man.
like, I'm so excited. I could explode right now.
Look,
out of my
I always
body."
try to get, well, I mean, okay, I'll be 100% real. Like every time there's new Digimon stuff coming out, like, and there's one thing, like, there's not a lot of people that know that like Digimon games are really, really interesting. They're all like JRPGs where you have 3 people and then you fight, and then sometimes they're more world adventure. And so when there's new stuff, I'm like, are we going to get it? And that's a weird thing too, I guess, power fantasy in that sense, where it's like a new evolution, a new fusion, a new what's going on. So like a new stuff. So
I'm worried about Famous 2 over here, Tom.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Electric
did get
Boogaloo.
that. I did get that question from a different podcast, and they said, "Did you leave it open ended because you can do like Famous 2 Comic Con or
Boogaloo.
Famous 2 Electric Boogaloo, Famous 2 International?
yeah.
London. We can go to different cons and keep the story going.
Australia.
Australia.
I got.
Famous, sure.
How about you do a series, TV series?
I'm all for it. We'll go to different cons.
Each con is a whole season.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Oh my
And
God,
then you
tap
follow-
us.
How
Tom's
much?
pitching us right now.
How much does it pay? I'm all in. Let's go.
Yeah, let's do it.
We got a great crafty table.
Yeah. I make a mean mac and cheese, Jeff. I'm just saying.
Vin Diesel does.
Yeah.
Well, so now is the time to do all of the plugs, Jeff. Everything
Okay.
that you want to plug.
There's only one thing, baby. It's famous. Famous. iTunes, Amazon Prime, Google Play, and Microsoft.
Yeah.
It's once again, just to recap, we haven't even talked about this, but I had a brain tumor. I survived. I moved my bucket list up way high for that. Number
Yeah.
1 is
Yeah.
make a movie, and I did
Yeah.
it. And I just decided to do it. And I said, I have no money. I don't even know if it's going to be good. I don't know if people will even see it. But that's my pitch to you, Josh.
Yeah. The Nerd On Nation.
The Nerd On Nation.
And Josh was like, "I'm in. Do you have a mixer? I'm in." And all the people who were like just either read the script or saw the raw footage, or they were all just like, "I got to be a part of it." And
Yeah.
we made this. What I hope people will really love, a film that lasts for some years. And that's really what movie making is. You hope that you make that one film that you could turn it on 10 years from now and still, this
Yeah.
was great, and pick it up from any point,
Yeah.
That's what you're all hoping for. And I don't know if I've achieved it, but Josh tells me he's probably seen it 2 million times. And while he was mixing it, he heard the same joke over and over and over again. And he laughed every single time the joke landed and
There's a
cried every
moment-
single time.
There's
it
a
was supposed to
moment
cry.
that is just like, it's a surprise moment, but it hits you. And it just, every time it happened, like from a sound design perspective and just watching it, I'm like, it's funny every single
This
time.
is what's up.
And it's one of these things. I sent it to a friend. I sent the DVD because I sent it to them, and I said, "Did you watch it?" And they're like, "I watched it 3 times," and that seems to be what's going on. The
Oh, yeah.
trailer, when I first put up the trailer, you do one of those things where it tells you when people stop watching, and the average person watched the trailer 3 times.
There you go.
Whoa.
Before stopping. It was 2.5 times, I think, actually. So they kept watching
awesome.
it. Yeah.
That's
so
great.
Well, there's so much to
For our
figure
Nerd On
out
Nation
about
early
it.
access fans, that's coming out on the 12th. For everyone else, it's out now.
Yeah, that's true. These are true
I mean,
facts.
it's just true facts.
Yeah, true facts. If you would like to get
yeah.
early access to our episodes, join the Nerd On Nation.
Yeah.
Another plug. We're just plugging away here.
No, that's awesome. No, I can't wait. I mean, you should do a watch party when it comes out. Do a watch party.
That's a great
That'd be
idea.
a Zoom watch party would
Yeah,
have to
do a
be-
Zoom
I-
watch party.
Hey.
I did totally want to have people
Like an
over
interactive
in my
session.
apartment.
Like a premiere.
but Yeah, you know. one of
Rain
those
check
just-
it. We're there when we can do it again. Rain check it.
We
It'll
can
happen.
do a Twitch watch party.
Yeah, I typed
Well,
it
we
into
could.
chat, and then I was holding off on hitting return until after because I didn't want everybody to get excited about it.
And I brought it. Well, I was just saying in one sense, like if everyone
fine.
has, if people have it at home, you call up the rest of the cast, and then you do it together, and then people just
Yeah.
chime in and talk, and there's like we're at this point, and then you have a little ticker.
And go.
I
Yeah.
love it.
That'd be fun.
All
Good
right.
time.
Times.
great.
Good
As soon as you said
times.
Amazon Prime, my brain was like,
Awesome. Everybody at home, thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please do go out wherever you like to watch your media or just buy it on everything. Just so if you're like on a different device, you can just watch
So
it
you're
there
covered
too. You're
across the
covered.
board.
Get the physical DVD
yeah.
commentary.
DVD, check out.
I can't promise the commentary is on there. I gave it to them. Yeah.
You
So we
recorded
gotta
it.
buy it and find out.
But yeah, check it out. Famish. It really is a fantastic film, as we have gone over a million times. As somebody who worked on it in different regards, from mixing it to doing the trailer, it's just it's really, I can't speak more high of it. It's just such a great project, great film, and I really suggest everybody see it. I'm so excited that it's going to be out because that is a surreal experience. But yeah, do check that out. If you're new to Nerd On, check out our website, nerdon.tv. It has all of the information about everything that we do. And speaking of like places to go, Jeff, you have social media and website and stuff like that. Would you
Yeah.
like to tell people where to follow you?
Sure. The best places to follow me are the Famish page on Facebook.
Facebook?
yes, take it over.
FAME-ISH. And also famish-movie.com is another place. And to read the story about my brain tumor and how this movie came about, you can go to jeffnimoy.com/Famish or just jeffnimoy.com. You'll see the Famish page. You can
There you go.
Nice.
Thank you
Thank
again.
you. Yeah. It is such a pleasure every time you are here. It really
Thanks,
is
man.
just an awesome experience.
My favorite Jeff.
My favorite
I think I
Nimoy.
can say that too. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Awesome.
Oh,
Well,
Caitlin. Caitlin looks so how dare you?
In comments. They'll be arguing in the comments. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Now we have another thing to argue in the comments for Jeff.
Great.
Awesome. You know the drill. As always,
All right, guys.
Nerd on.
Nerd on.
Nerd on.
Ending broadcast.